Hey everyone, this is Matt at the Patriot Party, and today we have a very special show. We are doing a live interview with Rachel Owen. You guys and gals can expect a very interesting interview with Rachel. She's CEO of Infinite Worth, an organization trying to help pregnant women across America. Y'all can find Rachel's links in the description part of this podcast. Please check them out. Now let's give a very warm welcome to Rachel. Rachel, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, it is a pleasure to be here, Matt. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I am a mom of six. I've been married for going on 30 years. I'm very passionate about helping other mothers see their value of being a mother and also the value of their children. So that's what I do. I have worked in the pregnancy center movement for, gosh, I've been there for well over 20 years. Actually, my grandmother had me working in pregnancy centers when I was 11 years old. So it was just really fun to fold diapers with her and hang out with her. And then later on, I started in that movement when my husband and I found out the need in our hometown. And him being the great delegator, he said, "Hey, I think you need to go and do something about, the abortion rate in our community, and also, making sure women feel like they're valued and that they have the support that they need to bring their children into the world." So that's what my husband and I jumped into. Bless him, he's such an awesome guy. He provides for the family and is really that rock, that foundation of our marriage. And then I get to do incredible things by just stepping in and helping women who are in crisis, women who may have been abandoned, abused, trafficked. And that's what we get to do. And a few years ago, we started Infinite Worth when we saw that the Gen Z were not coming into the pregnancy centers. They were getting this abortion pill online. They were being told they could do it themselves in their own bathrooms. They were being really targeted by a very dark entity that is. Holding women back and holding families down, and not providing for them, not nurturing them, and so we just jumped in and we started this texting line with nurses where women are able to reach us 24/7 with any questions that they have about what's going on in their life, where they're at, what crisis is going on. And so we're able to answer those questions, get them connected with pregnancy centers where they can get the resources, the care, the medical attention that they need.
That sounds like a really, really righteous movement. I want to back it up just a little bit. You were talking about your husband being your rock and having six children and all that. And when I was doing some research, it basically said, maybe I'm a little off here, but it said that you pretty much didn't take much of a salary your first year. So this is something that obviously you're passionate about. Obviously, it's a family passion because it started early. Would you say that you being able to do this is dedicated or in large part because of you having a nuclear family and such a great support system?
Oh, absolutely. I have gone, and actually over the 20 years where I was opening clinics, I opened close to, well, over 12 clinics. Um, I love doing that. And many times throughout that 20 years when I was opening clinics and just loving communities, well, many times, we would be like, "Well, I'm not going to get a paycheck this month, honey. Are you okay with that?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And so he's been supporting the home. We have a little farm in the Midwest where we mostly raise children. And their pets, so it's more of a, we've got the pet ducks and the pet chickens and the pet dogs and everything else that goes around that, because it's so much fun to raise children with those precious responsibilities and to just let them my dad always called them pharaoh children, but they were just out in the farm doing their thing. You know, they would do schoolwork when they got to it, but mostly it was caring for their animals, which I think is such a beautiful place to raise kids in the Midwest. Is with, well, anywhere in the country, right? Like, but that is the support of my amazing husband and having that nuclear family, that beautiful thing, and of course our parents supported us in this mission also, and really were there for us when I had to work long hours to get these places up and running, especially as we got this infinite worth, this nurse chat up and running. There was times I was working, 24/7 just to keep it going. And so, and to have a beautiful support system, my parents, my beautiful husband, and all of our kids, right? So it was awesome. And they love saving babies. Oh my gosh, my kids. I have a 16-year-old now who actually volunteers at the pregnancy center. She cleans and she's a witness, and she in the ultrasound room. And so she loves to support those nurses in their work. Oh my goodness. She loves wrapping around women and loving them well. And it's so fun to see that handing off to her. Just seeing that family is important, right? That no matter what that family looks like, we need to support those women. So yeah, we've been passing it on too. It's pretty fun, Matt.
That's really cool. I think Ben Carson said a lot when he was talking about how you can gauge a person by their children and by what their children are doing and all that kind of thing. And from what it seems, you seem like a really good person. But from what I hear of your children, I can definitely relate with the healthcare and being in that, because my soon to be wife, she's been a nurse for almost 20 years. Before that, a paramedic. She's done travel nurse, ER. She's a hospice nurse, and she's getting ready to walk this week in New Orleans with her nurse practitioner's certification.
Is awesome. I love nurses. Actually, nurses are really the crux of our ministry, right? Because honestly, Matt, um, women have been told for generations that abortion is healthcare, and so we have to also fight that with healthcare. And so we train up beautiful nurses to work in our ministry. And so I'm always touting about how nurses are my favorite people in the world. And so now I have two daughters who are in nursing school.
Oh, that's cool.
Who are doing nursing. Actually, one of them, Matt, is she just got deployed to Jordan for 6 months. She's married to a precious police officer here in town. He is, oh, he's just we just adore him. And my daughter is in nursing school. She had to put that on hold so that she could be deployed. She's in the Air National Guard, and she's now stationed in the U.S. base in Jordan, and she's has her health degree in for public health, and so she's purchasing all the food for the soldiers over there, and so she's doing well. We miss her terribly, but yeah, it's such an honor to have a child that is serving her country so well, and
I know
it's
you're proud. I know you're proud.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's really cool. My daughter right now, she decided when she was 9, after she won her first jiu-jitsu competition, that she wanted to be an MMA fighter in the UFC. So she's training 5 days a week at 11. Just made the wrestling team, and she's training boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and going to do Muay Thai next year, trying to make it into the octagon.
Oh my goodness. Well, my one daughter, we always, she's a little fighter, and she's a redhead, and she's the one that's in Jordan right now. We always said, you'd be a great fighter, because she's just a scrappy little scrap. So, but anyways, instead she's serving her country over there. So, but that's cool. I love that. That is something that runs deep in our family too. That's really neat, Matt. We'll have to keep an eye out for her. You'll have to tell me her
Absolutely,
name.
you can check out our social media. It's
I
Jujitsu
will.
Caitlin, Katelynn, on
Oh,
YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I'm
uh,
doing her social media for her, trying to build her up so she's monetized when she hits high school.
You bet. I love that. Well, we will definitely, my kids will love following her. So, Jiu-Jitsu Caitlin, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it takes a strong support system to, I can relate with what you're talking about to be able to grow your organization.
Yes.
And I'm trying to grow this organization and
Hmm.
kind of give the country a nonviolent reset, if you will.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
be quality control to the politicians and what they swear an oath to, follow the Constitution. And while we're doing that, soon to be wife is nurse and in school full time, and then she's training 5 days a week. So it takes a lot of teamwork,
Yeah.
to accomplish those things. So I can definitely relate with you. I'm going to ask you a little bit of a hard question here.
Yeah.
So,
Bring it on.
while supporters highlight the organization's role in saving lives and offering compassionate care to women facing difficult decisions, pro choice advocates view such organizations as part of a movement that restricts reproductive rights. What do you say to your critics?
Oh, well, this is what I say to my critics. Number one, I enjoy a good challenge, right? I enjoy that challenge of, okay, tell me what is restrictive in what I'm doing, right? So, what we're doing is we're wrapping around women. We know that 90%, it's over 90% sometimes, Matt, in different areas, statistically, that women regret having an abortion once they have it. So if that is true, right? Um, then what that tells us is as a society, we are not supporting them well. We're not providing what they need to bring that child into the world. And we need to wrap around them with love and care and resources for what they need. And that's all we're doing, Matt. So we're not restricting anything. Actually, there's no restrictions in this particular ministry that I do. There's no all we're doing is answering her questions, her medical questions, answering trying to help her walk around her whole situation. We use something that's very beautiful. It's called the Ottawa Decision Guide. It's used in hospitals all over the country. It was developed in an oncology department in Ottawa for end of life decisions. This is a beautiful, beautiful medical guide that walks women around their whole issue so that they can make an informed decision. Now, I believe in our free country that making an informed decision is absolutely part of our right, like it's critical, it's critical. And so for someone to say that abortion is the answer to your problem, when we see that stat where there is regret, then we need to be providing all of the options for her. Like, here's the deal. If it is a let's say a financial issue, are we willing as a government or as a church or as citizens of the United States to wrap around her and help her where she's at? That's important, right? And so we're able to put our money where our mouth is, and if it's resources, we'll help make that happen through not only through the pregnancy centers, but also deeper connections we have in the community by providing those resources. Also, we see the stats are staggering when it comes to that regret part, right? That post-abortive, suicidal rates go up, mental illness rates go up. We are seeing in a huge, and I'm going to get a little visual here, even though I know we're only on video, but there's a huge um, with this abortion pill, Matt, what happens is um, most of the time the woman does end up seeing her child that she just aborted in her own bathroom in her own toilet. She sees that and she has to flush that child down the toilet. She needs to know that ahead of time. All of the marketing companies, the people that are making money off of this abortion pill, the people that are shipping it in, the political agenda on population reduction, all of that stuff pushes into her telling them that this is not, you don't regret isn't a real thing. This isn't a viable life, that kind of thing. But that's not how she feels when she's in the process of that. Actually, our psych wards now, are full of women who have had to go ahead and do that and flush that child, and it is crushing, crushing, and it builds this. It's not actually how we were designed. Does that make sense, Matt? We were not designed to do that as human beings and as women. That is not our design. Um, and so what we need to do as a society is recognize the truth, not a propaganda or a lie for population reduction. We need to recognize the truth, and we need to wrap around her and provide her the resources and the knowledge and the understanding of what's really going to happen instead of hiding the truth. We do have a propaganda problem in our country, and we need to be bringing the truth with love to women, to help them make a decision that's right for them, right? And you know what? Here's the deal. In her mind, maybe that abortion is the right decision. But what we do in our ministry, in our mission, is what we do is we wrap around her regardless of her decision. So we're not forcing anyone. There's no coercion here going on. We're literally just using this medical tool to help her walk around that whole issue, right? And help her to see if there's any other options that she might have and support
Yeah,
her.
I mean, there's nothing bad about having options. The more options, the better. If you think about it, choices are part of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is
Yeah.
what this country was founded on.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
And
if you think about it, I believe not wanting options is closed-minded and based on media misinformation and political hot topics. This movement is pushing back with truth and constitution. We're trying to open minds for a generational change.
yes, absolutely. You hit it right on the nose. You said that better than I did. I should probably hire you, Matt.
I'll send a resume. Um, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced and are currently facing?
Ah, so when we started this, it literally exploded on us. We set up our little business plan, 2 years ago to do this chat, this nurse chat, to really meet young women on the phone, right? We set it up. We're like, hey, you know what? Gen Z spends 16 hours a day texting. If we're going to reach them, if we're going to serve them and love them well with choices and options and be there for them in the middle of their decision making process, then we're going to have to be on the phone, right? Because that's where they're at. Also, they watch 6 hours of 2-minute videos a day. That's literally where they get their education, where they get their news, where they get their knowledge. And so we also have part of this platform that we have is actually about 200 2-minute videos from doctors and um, lawyers. Let's say there's a custody all kinds of things like professionals and testimonials. And it's just beautiful education that we also use to send to text to them, right? And so when we started it, it blew us out of the water. It was 3 times more effective than we thought it would be. So we have literally been playing catch up the whole time. We last month we texted with 17,000 vulnerable women that were in crisis. Um, it's overwhelming. Now, some of these women are literally in the process of figuring out how to get out of trafficking situations. Some of them are in the process where they are in such a huge domestic violence situation that they need to figure out how to get out safely. And as you know, Matt, when a woman is trying to get out of a domestic violence situation, that is the most volatile part, right? And she needs someone to walk her through that, and she needs help. And she needs someone to connect her with resources to do that safely. Also, we have young women who have been getting these pills from overseas and they don't even know what they're taking.
Mm.
We had one young woman who, well, actually, we've had a couple handfuls of these girls, obviously, because of the bulk that we're doing. But they'll get sent. It's a little bit hard to describe, but they'll get sent the side attack only because they can't ship the first abortion pill over state lines. And so they'll get sent the side attack only, but they don't speak English. And so the instructions are in English. And so, and the instructions say take 3 every 4 hours until you see the baby pass. But what these girls don't know, is they can't read those instructions, so they take all 14 at a time, and then they end up bleeding out. This is without medical attention. So this is what I'm trying to bring. The thing is, so there's two things here, Matt. One is that we are fighting against something that is so dark, and that there's no regulations in our country right now. People are not seeing how dangerous this is for girls to take alone at home without medical supervision. They are literally giving birth in their bathroom, and no one is there to supervise that. We don't do that in our country. That is not women's health care. That is, I cannot stress that enough. So that is a big obstacle for us, that we are literally fighting this very dark tool that is putting women in danger every single day. There was research that just came out of Canada that states that it is 20 times more damaging than originally thought to women, both psychologically and physically. And then the second thing really is, Matt, is that this exploded on us, and we've been literally playing catch up, and so we can hardly raise enough money and hire enough staff. Right now I have 40 nurses working around the clock to meet these needs, and so that is huge. It just exploded on us. So we've been doing this about 2.5 years, and we've chatted with over 250,000 women, and getting them plugged into the resources that they need, because this is such an epidemic and it's dark. It's frustrating because the propaganda, the TikTok campaigns are telling girls, oh, it's no harder than a hard period, and it's totally safe, and you don't need to tell anyone. You don't even need to take a pregnancy test. You don't even need to know if you're pregnant. You just, if you've missed your period, just go ahead and take this pill, because then you won't have any regret. Well, what we're doing to these precious young girls in our generation is we are harming them greatly. And this is unacceptable on every level. We're hoping that we can get some action from, from, Make America Healthy Again. We're hoping for some action on that. We really do need to see, this is a problem in our country, and no one is addressing it like they should be. In fact, I feel like it's the other way, that they're pushing it, because of this whole agenda for population control. But I'm sorry, our country, we deserve so much better than that. Our women in our country, they deserve to be protected, to be loved, to be cared for. If they're in a crisis, then we need to help them walk through it, not help build trauma upon trauma by providing a pill that will put them in pain and at risk in their own bathrooms. I'm sorry. Um, it is not the America that I know and love, right?
Okay, I definitely let's peel back a little bit of this and kind of unwrap it. First, let me say I completely understand with being overwhelmed and changing from week to week, because the last month, this just this podcast and movement alone has grown by 10,000%. So yeah, we actually interviewed a hotshot DC lawyer and lobbyist this last week that wants to come on board and help us open a location in DC to start challenging some of these unconstitutional laws in the Supreme Court. But when I listen to what you said, I know that you prefer for people not to take this pill. But the reality is that some people are still going to take this pill, and it sounds like they're taking it wrong for lack of information. So, do you provide information, since this pill's coming in a foreign language, to help those people who do decide to take that avenue?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked, Matt. Actually, we are launching a new program, and it's a little, how do I say this? It's a little, it's out there a little bit, right? Like, we're really working hard to pull um, a lot of the pro-life entities into this, and then also the medical community into this, because it is so important that these girls have support, right? whether they are just deciding whether to do this or not, so we need to help them in their decision making. Whether they are already taking a pill and they regret it, because if you take the first abortion pill, the pill is set up like this. It has the first pill. I won't get into any of the names and stuff. I'll just do it real simple here. But the first pill is what shuts down the circulation to the placenta. And if you take that first pill and you regret it, which about over 80% do, once they take that pill, they regret it. They're like, oh, I just, and that's just honestly, that's that's life. We do things and then sometimes we regret them immediately, right? And so research shows that. So what we do is we help intervene in that process and we can do a reversal. You can actually flood her system with progesterone because that's what that first pill does. It blocks the progesterone and you need progesterone for the placenta to be healthy and for the baby to grow. And what you do is you flood her system and we've seen I think there's over 7,000 babies now in the country documented that have been saved from abortion this way. It's incredible. And so there's a whole network of doctors. It's called the APR network. And there's a whole network of doctors who work with us and other organizations to help facilitate that. So then that young girl that is actually the babies are born healthy. There's no defects, no nothing. It's gorgeous because all it has to do with is that placenta. Now, the second stage of that abortion is in um, they take a pill that actually helps the extraction so with the baby to come out and it's called cytotec, which is used for miscarriages, which is used to help women in the OB/GYN world, right? And so there's no really restrictions on that drug. That's why sometimes they're promoted in red states, the cytotec only abortions. Now again, I'm not going into details too much into this, but this is just the outline. Now, what we have created and we're in the process of launching this is a care kit. It's a care kit for women. Our OBGYNs, our medical directors, the doctors that we've worked with are so excited about this, Matt, because women are being left without any resources to have this abortion alone. And so we've created a care kit with many beautiful organizations across the country that we've been praying over, and we've been putting this kit together for the last 10 months. And it's been in use in La Cruces, New Mexico. We're using it here in our little center here. And what it essentially is it's a kit to wrap around her. It gives her all her options. It actually helps walk her through the APR if she decides that she does not want to go through with that. If she's taken the first pill, we can get her connected with APR. And then secondly, the last part of it is that she needs to know how much blood loss is too much blood loss. They don't give instructions like that when they're shipping her this pill. They don't give her instructions by saying, okay, if you lose this much blood, you need to go to the ER now because you're going to bleed out. You need to be able to track that blood loss. You got to be able to have an understanding of what's healthy and what's not as you're taking this abortion pill. You need to be able to see what is coming out. I know this is a little intense, but there's a strainer, there's a hat, there's a kit, and there's also a vessel to put the baby in. If they do not feel like flushing that baby is going to if they can't, a lot of the time they just can't, they physically can't. They'll call us and they'll say, hey, I didn't know what to do with this baby. And I knew I couldn't flush it. And so what we're providing in this care kit is a vessel to put the baby. We're connecting with churches and funeral homes across the country that will bury these babies and that will also have a service and love that young girl and help walk her through healing, post abortion recovery healing, so that she doesn't have to walk that alone, because that's when the depression and the heartache comes in and can overtake her. And so we've got to number one, have a commitment, Matt, to be with her through every stage. Now, if we're able to say, hey, this is what you're going to go through, you need to have all the information before you take this pill. You need to know that this is what you're going to experience and what is too much and all of that. And so and And so that's the first reason for that kit. The second reason is if she changes her mind, she can go ahead and step right into reversing that abortion. And then, of course, that third stage is that we're helping her recover from that abortion, no matter what the circumstances were, whether it was for convenience or whether it was from rape or whether it was from whatever it is. We just want to be there and love her and care for her and help her find her mental healing and her spiritual and her physical healing. Now, OBGYNs across the country are ecstatic about this because what happens is, Matt, the the abortion pill makers are telling these girls you don't have to there you can take this pill, but if you go to the ER, if you don't feel well and you go to the ER, you don't have to tell the doctor what you took. And then also in red states, the propaganda is telling these women, don't tell anyone that you were even pregnant or that you took a pill because you could go to prison because it's illegal in those states. Well, Matt, you and I know that there isn't a state in this country right now that is going to put a woman in prison for taking an abortion pill. The laws right now, even in Texas, that have some of the hardest laws, are targeted towards the distributor, not towards the woman. And so there's lies out there telling these girls, so they're hiding it and they're getting to the ER, Matt, and they're not telling the doctor what they took. And then the doctors are watching these girls bleed out and they're and hemorrhaging, and so it's so important that these girls tell and that they know the truth. The truth is you can tell your doctor and you're not no one's going you because you took this pill, no one's going to go to prison, right? And the lies that are being spread by the sales of this pill is very frustrating, and I'm just very straight up. I know that they feel like they have the moral high ground here, but the fact is that they're lying. Women should not they should be telling their doctors when they go to the ER if they feel like their pain is excruciating and they are losing too much blood. When they go to the ER, say no one should be telling them not to tell what they took, right? Like that is deceptive and it's wrong. And so that's another part of this care kit. So I'm so excited that you asked that question, Matt, because that's something that we're developing and we're launching. We're in the middle of that launch right now and we're seeing beautiful things happen from that. Just loving women again where they're at. We're not pushing a hard agenda here. What we're pushing is care for women. Abortion is not health care. I know it is what our country says, but here's the deal, Matt. I know that we can do so much better for women. 20 years I've been working in this. I have seen beautiful stories after story after story where women come to me and say, thank you for being there for me in the middle of my crisis because I do not regret having my baby.
I can tell how passionate you are just by the way you're talking about this, and your voice is cracking a little bit. I can tell there's a lot of feeling behind this. And I listen to what you have to say, and I listen about this movement, and I just don't see how there could be any critics, because it doesn't really matter if you're saving the life of the pregnant mom who has an abortion, or you're saving the life of a baby and the pregnant mom. This movement is all about saving lives, from what I see.
Yes, that is exactly it. It is about saving lives. We are serious about standing in the gap. Susan B. Anthony was one of my favorites, and she had this beautiful quote. And it's like the heartbeat of my heart. And I love to paraphrase it in my own language, so bear with me, Matt. But it really is. There's nothing more than I love having my own children and my own husband in my own home, right? I love that. But there's one thing that takes me to a deeper level, and that is helping another mother see the value of her motherhood and see the value of her children and not have it willed away from her by society. I just think that what we have done in our society, and it is what it is, but gosh, I mean, women and men, oh, we have roles. We have beautiful roles. My husband is the nurture, provider, protector. And it is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm designed to give birth. I'm designed to have babies. I'm designed to love others and to build a home and to create this nurturing place for my family. And I think that when we as a society, I don't mean to get too far off for you, Matt. I hope this isn't okay, but the deal is that I just love helping mothers see the value of motherhood and the value of who they are and the value of the children in the womb. And here's how I feel, Matt. If women don't know their own value because of what has happened to our society, and I don't want to throw this all on men. I love men, obviously. I have I love men. Um, but when men are not walking in that nurture, provider, protector, then women can't walk in their beautiful wifehood and motherhood. It's just it's hard for us. And um anyways, it's just important that we see really a revival of the heart of men, to stand up for their country, to be patriots, to provide for their family, to nurture their family well, and to protect it. And honestly, abortion is not protecting. You know what's been kind of cool, Matt? If I can say this on here, since I don't know, since Charlie Kirk was killed, the next day after Charlie Kirk was killed, there were so many people watching his precious videos about, get married, love your wife, have babies. We had an explosion of young men chatting in with our nurses saying, my girlfriend is going to go and have this abortion. I encouraged her to. Now I've changed my mind. I want to be a father. I want to be a nurture, provider, protector. How do I do that? So many. It was like this overnight explosion, and they're still coming through, Matt. They're still coming through where they want this. They want to be fathers, and they don't know what the next step is. And they know that what's standing in their way is this huge chasm of the culture that says, oh, well, if this is out of time or out of not what you planned, then go ahead and just have this abortion. Um, Gosh, some of the best things in life are unplanned. I mean, Matt, I'm unplanned. I am a full on unplanned. My mom had me in high school or her senior year. She actually had to dip out and go back and take her GED. That was 50, almost 51 years ago next week. I'm her best buddy. I'm her best.
Do
We're
you
besties.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I also see another byproduct of this movement is pushing back on big pharma misinformation and the way they move with impunity. I mean, just look what they did with oxycontins and the epidemic going across the country right now. The painkiller and all that. I mean, if you look at that, I mean that they spread nothing but misinformation and then basically walked away with some fines.
Yes, exactly. And I think that is right spot on, Matt. We need to be pushing back heavy and honestly, that's not my full arena. My full arena is to, expose what I by what I see on the chat line. My what God has called me to is to minister and to love to the woman in the process, right? But somebody else needs to take up the baton and stop this insanity of this abortion pill. Really, honestly, in my little state, we've been fighting it. I'm from Iowa. I started my little clinics here in Iowa years and years ago, and we saw. And we had 24/7 nurse on call. This is back before texting was a big deal. We saw a 50% reduction in abortion because we were available 24/7. Women, when we're awake in the middle of the night stressing over an unplanned pregnancy, we don't sleep, right? Like it's just like, so we need to find information. And so we were fighting this, but what we saw in Iowa is they actually used Planned Parenthood of the Heartland, if I can say that name. Planned Parenthood of the Heartland used Iowa as its test plot to create telehealth abortions, and which is now all the rage. I know in Detroit they have 24/7 nurses that are passing out uh, abortion pills 24/7. So, but what it's all the rage to do these telehealth abortions and just ship the pills but we were doing that 10, 15 years ago in Iowa. It had become a thing in Iowa. And they were testing it here because they're like, hey, if it's going to be okay in Iowa, then it'll be okay for the rest of the country. And it hadn't become as prevalent, obviously, as it is after the overturning of Roe versus Wade. That's what really catapulted this abortion pill. It was like the pharmaceutical companies took advantage of that and just pushed it heavy, heavy, and have really dipped into social media for that, like I alluded to earlier on the campaigns on social media. But what so we were fighting it years and years and years, and I think that's why, one of the reasons that I'm in the position I'm in right now is because I have that experience of fighting that for years in our own little state. and and it is so incredibly damaging. So we were one of the first states to have 50, or excuse me, 75% of the abortions done by the abortion pill. So that's without medical attention, Matt. That's without medical attention. Now, when they first legalized the abortion pill, this is the thing that I think you want to, the information that you want. When they first legalized the abortion pill here in the US, they had the FDA had precautions around it. It couldn't go past 7 weeks. Do you know why, Matt? It couldn't go past 7 weeks?
Why?
Because that is when the sac that the baby is in becomes translucent. And the FDA stated at that time that they knew it would be a mental health issue if women saw their babies in the toilet. So they set a law that, or they set a best practices, excuse me, I'm sorry. The FDA recommendation was that it was not to be given after 7 weeks. And that also the woman had to collect everything that came out of her uterus and take it back to her physician to make sure that she had no remaining parts inside of her uterus, because that would cause her to have an infection and possibly go septic. So that was the law. That was what the FDA recommended for using the abortion pill. And that's what it was in our state to begin with. And then all of a sudden, overnight, without I mean, without research, without anything, they push that back to 10 weeks. And at 7 weeks, that sac becomes translucent. So there's 3 weeks in there where that woman has the possibility to see that little baby in the toilet, knowing the FDA, knowing that it would be have mental health effects on that woman. And they push that back because why? Because of the
Big pharma.
because of big pharma. And so now we have been putting women in jeopardy mentally. That alone is atrocious, right? That alone is atrocious. And so I just have always seen that as just that is not a woman's best interest. And then at that time they dropped all of the, and I know what they say. They're like, well, there was no need to collect everything that came in and take it back to the doctor. So now we have young women. Actually, research shows it's like 35% actually have to go back and have a surgical abortion because they're getting sick because there's stuff still left in their uterus, and that could take a young woman's life if she doesn't have the correct medical care. So now we have this free will, this free for all. Excuse me, it's not free will. Is it? Well, it is free will, but it's a free for all of where women are just taking this pill and there's no follow up. There's no checking with her. There's no medical care at all. And they just went through birth.
I mean, this is gross negligence on somebody's part.
Somebody could say that it's malpractice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's those are some crazy statistics you got there. So, is there anything that you can think of that we missed? Anything else you want to talk about on this show?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we are, because we are serving so well and so hard and loving these girls so intensely, we need help. We need volunteer nurses who are willing to be on the chat line. We need um oh gosh, we have prayer warriors that come on the chat line. It's actually quite astounding. We have prayer warriors that pray for the girls. It's incredible when we have prayer warriors on praying. We actually see over a 20% increase in them actually making appointments and going into the pregnancy centers. That's incredible. That's incredible. So prayer is something that works. We also need financial support. We've got to be able to hire those nurses and keep them going year after year. And so, and if you go to infiniteworth.org, you can see the mission, you can see what we're doing. You can give if God puts that on your heart. If it's something you want to be a part of, um, I think every patriot would want to be a part of this because I truly believe that the population control that has been pushed on us is will end up damaging and has damaged our country in an incredible way. And there's so many proofs to that. And I can go into that. And you probably know all those, Matt. You could probably list all those off, but that would take another hour. But if you want to fight against that, that's what we're doing. But we're doing it one precious woman at a time. We're protecting her life. We're protecting the life of the child in her womb. We're providing her resources. We're getting her connected into communities that will care for her and that will help her in the next steps be the parent, the best parent that she can possibly be. And so we have such a beautiful success rate in that. And so if this is something, and this is really a grassroots movement, we are just moving along, changing one heart at a time. And if you want to be a part of that, this is a place that you will be welcomed and loved because we are creating a movement in our country to make sure that women are fully informed on what's happening when they take that pill, not only with the care kit, but with the beautiful education and just loving them right where they're at with no judgment, Matt. I just need to stress that. People throw that on this type of ministry. They're like, oh, you're just judging women. Absolutely not. Oh my gosh. I was myself. I mean, I was an unplanned pregnancy. I was born to a high schooler. My gosh, there's no judgment. Stuff happens, and there's none of that going on. There's just pure, like, how can we help you get to where your goals and dreams and visions are for your life? What's next here? And how can we wrap around and love you well? And that's the heart of this. And so I just thank you for the opportunity for me to get on and share what our heart is here, share what we do, and also share part of the heartache too, because that's what we need to do. We need to be talking about the heartache of this. Women need to hear the heartache that not only they've been told by a culture that they're not valuable, motherhood's not valuable, children aren't valuable. That's really where we're at in our country, unfortunately, and that's the battle we're fighting. But all of those are valuable. All of those have infinite value. Um,
Well, we're just happy we could provide a platform. We're kind of picky on our guests. We like to bring on people who we consider having an America First movement, not connected to a political party, America First, but actually America First. We don't want any agendas. The Maha, the MAGA. We actually want political disassociation. So there's no agendas with those movements. They're more of a broad, unbiased movement, and we're just happy we could provide you with a platform. Let me ask you, if you could leave this audience with one piece of advice, what would that be?
Life is always valuable. We cannot judge what the value of life is by how it was conceived or by its economic. This is the American dream. This is what gets me fired up. People would have said that my mom should have had an abortion. It's the American dream, man. Anyone can become anything in this precious country. I have an amazing husband, 6 kids. I live on a big, big, beautiful farm. I'm living the life. And that wouldn't have been possible if my mom would have listened to the culture at the time, right? Literally, abortion had been legal in our country for a year by the time I was born. So I think that we need to embrace the American way and just see life at the value that it is. That we cannot judge the value of of any life. We just have to love it, embrace it, and create a beautiful country where it can grow and become its potential.
Well, not only are you living the life personally, but you are passing that on by helping other lives be possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do every day. I love it. I love it. And it is the American dream, Matt. So you keep on doing this podcast. You just keep pushing all of this forward. We've got to bring us back to what our founding fathers, I homeschool my kids and we dig deep into the founding fathers and we love studying it. And I love the especially when we talk about the pursuit of life. Like they knew that in when they wrote that, it was all about um as soon as the life is quickened in the womb, like it's precious, it's valuable, and we cannot judge it. They had been judged on their own value because they weren't of noble blood or they weren't of this or that, right? They came here to have freedom to live life and live it to the fullest and to have that freedom to bring that life into the world. And so yeah, I love what you're doing, Matt. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
Absolutely. Please stay in the studio for a few minutes while I wrap this up. I'd like to have a few words with you before you leave. I think I can give you some resources to help your movement before you leave. So if you don't mind just hanging around for a minute.
Absolutely.
Cool. Let's all thank Rachel Owen for joining the Patriot Party. And to all of you out there, stay safe. And don't forget to catch our Saturday morning show at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, where truth meets every corner of the news.